Additions to the agenda. Councillor Coulson?
Nope.
No?
You're-
Okay. Okay, hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Oh, sorry, I guess we need an actual motion.
I was gonna say, I didn't get
I'm ahead of the game.
That's right.
How about somebody move the agenda as
Move the
presented?
agenda as
Thank you, Councillor Scott. Seconded by Councillor Savage. Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Approval of the minutes, April 27th, 2015. Councillor Coulson.
2 items on page 7. The motion 15-81 on bullying and harassment. A recorded vote was requested for that.
Sorry, which?
Oh, sorry, page 7.
Oh.
The bullying and harassment policy motion. About halfway down.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, a recorded vote was requested for that.
Is it?
Yes.
And it was unanimous?
It was unanimous, yes. Do we go one at a time? Do we vote on each one as we go? Or?
We can do a package or one at a time if you wish. Let's tell you what's the second one?
Second was on page 6. Halfway down again regarding council management staff relations. It was recorded about Councillor Scott's concerns regarding communication by email to the ministry. They don't reflect your response with regards to the ministry requesting a conference call. I think that needs to be accurately recorded.
Okay, so just Mayor Hames stated that the ministry
Requested a conference call.
requested a conference call. Okay. Any other amendments to the minute? Councillor Savage?
Thank you. Yeah, just on page 5 under reports, Mayor and Council, under the verbal updates attributed to myself, just some confusion there in the way that was interpreted. If you look at the second bullet, it looks as though there was a second meeting, when in fact it was just one general comment in terms of the makeup, physical assets and contributions made by the city, to the city by the Commission. And then I also mentioned a potential future fundraising project. So, it's just interpretation of how it was done. It wasn't sort of a second meeting. All encompassed in one statement.
Okay.
So are you okay with the amendment that is to delete attended meeting in Nanaimo regarding?
Yeah,
And
that
bring
was
it
my
up with
thinking
what,
actually.
after commission including potential? Would that work?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Anything additional? Okay. Hearing none, can we have a motion to approve as amended? Councillor Savage, second by Councillor Coulson. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. The May the 4th, 2015 Special County Council meeting minutes. Short ones.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Scott, seconded by Councillor Coulson. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Mr. Murray. Hello there. Hello. Linesville Fire Service Review. You've prepared a report that we've got in our agenda here, and I assume you wish to speak to it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll keep this relatively brief. Evening, Mayor, Councillors. Thank you for the opportunity to help you consider how best to move forward with Lanceville Fire Rescue Service in 2015. I also wanted to take the opportunity to thank your CAO and finance staff, and also Chief Wicks and Deputy Mormon and the members of the fire department. I appreciate their welcome and their candor and their willingness to discuss how best to move forward. A very interesting couple of days spent in the department. I appreciate that very much. I'll just provide an overview of the report. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have as we go through it. Small communities continue to be challenged by the increasing demands of providing safe and effective fire services in a rapidly changing regulatory environment. I'm sure you know this. That includes the Fire Services Act, WorkSafe BC, NFPA standards, and the Office of the Fire Commissioner Firefighters Competency and Training Playbook. Property tax funding is valuable and scarce, and the dynamic of modern-day family living constrains the ability of committed individuals to volunteer significant amounts of their time to serve their communities. The District of Lanceville is no different. The community strongly values its fire department, and council has retained autonomy and control through the current structure. The department is functioning well, has received a positive fire underwriter survey recently, has a full roster of members, good equipment and facilities. So given this increasingly complex regulatory environment, these broader standards, and the financial realities facing families today, many small communities already have or are moving towards a paid part-time or full-time leadership structure for their fire departments. The fire department and deputy chief, in his or her absence, are ultimately responsible to council and the community for the delivery of fire services in a safe and effective manner. There's significant liability and responsibility associated with the role. The fire chief and deputy provide leadership and supervision to the fire department, ensure the development and motivation of personnel, lead departmental planning and an extensive training regime, ensure that a complex and broad set of standards and regulations are interpreted correctly and adhered to, promote fire prevention and education, manage fire inspections, contribute to the overall senior management of the municipality from time to time, and act as incident commander at emergency scenes. They also manage physical resources such as buildings and equipment, act as trainers and mentors, maintain good public relations, and effective working relationships. So you can see this isn't a small job. It's at the very minimum part-time and more than likely a full-time role. So in considering how to provide this capacity, a range of options was reviewed, from the status quo, just the honorarium system that's in place now, to contracting fire services to another community, so both ends of the spectrum. Continuing with the status quo honorarium system will not attract qualified candidates willing to take on the role and responsibility of a fire chief, which you can see is quite significant. The risk and liability of operating without stable and effective leadership can be quite significant as a result. Contracting the service to another community would result in the loss of a highly valued community asset and be very expensive. You can see in the report the most comparative contract that the City of Nanaimo provides service for is significantly more expensive than you're currently funding your fire department. Consideration of a regional fire chief system would represent a very significant change and require some more support from all the communities involved. That's very likely a premature question at this point in time and would need to be something that would result from a groundswell of support from a variety of communities. The remaining two options in the middle are based on the concept of either a part-time or a full-time paid chief's position. The extra capacity provided through a full-time chief's position is not required at this time, and the cost would be significant. Alternatively, moving to a part-time chief's position would be less costly, provide the flexibility to further adjust in future, and help maintain a more robust internal structure through the sharing of responsibility with the deputy, rather than centralizing all of the responsibility and funding one position. We also looked at combining responsibilities with building inspection, bylaw enforcement, and emergency program that are currently provided by contract with the Regional District of Nanaimo. Looked at that primarily as a means of freeing up some funding that could be recycled into helping fund the fire department. Taking on and combining the responsibilities of building inspection and bylaw enforcement would increase the risk, liability, and load on existing administrative staff. Any contract cost savings could very well be used up to provide the coverage and capacity to provide the service before you even get to freeing up that funding to help your fire department additional costs. Those are services that you generally wouldn't try and provide off the side of the desk or combine with a fire chief's role. Certainly not seen a building inspection combination. You very rarely might see a bylaw enforcement, but it's only, I think there's one or two instances I've seen of it. It's bylaw enforcement is generally a tough negative activity that's tough to manage. Even though you've only got a few instances a year, I think you've got about 30 calls a year that the regional district looks after. Fire department is very focused on that positive interaction, and combining that is seen as an incompatible set of responsibilities. The emergency program, on the other hand, quite often is coordinated by fire departments, and that's something that would be interesting to look at. A little bit beyond the scope of this work, but it's something that we thought could be tasked to the incoming fire chief to take a look at in more detail, and perhaps report back prior to budget discussions to see if there's any opportunities there to free up some funding or take on part of the responsibility rather than leaving it with the regional district. So there's maybe some opportunity there. So in summary, volunteer fire departments have historically played a very significant role in their communities. Maintaining this tradition is very important while also providing the necessary funding to allow individuals to serve, given the realities of modern-day family living. Moving to a paid part-time fire chief's position is cost-effective, provides the flexibility to further adjust in the future, and helps maintain a more robust internal structure through the sharing of responsibilities with the deputy chief. While the direction suggested will represent an additional financial cost burden for you to include in your municipal budget, it is reasonable and necessary in order to continue the effective provision of fire rescue services to your community. Thank you, and be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Councillor Scott.
Have you ever run across any situations where a part-time fire chief and emergency services have been tied together? Because they seem to be the same general area. I mean, your emergency services coordinator and fire chief, they're both dealing with emergency situations. Command control ties in with it all those types of things.
They're certainly very much more related than, say, the building inspection or the law enforcement. Absolutely. I think there's some opportunity there. What I've seen it tend to be is more care and feeding of a volunteer structure, so that you perhaps would have a volunteer ESS director, maybe a volunteer emergency program director that are committed members of the community. It's organized and supported by the fire department. Perhaps some of the funding is there to provide support to the volunteers and for meeting expenses and supplies, those sort of things. It becomes more of a community supported or volunteer activity managed by and coordinated by the fire department. I've certainly seen that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Councillor Savage.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for the report, Mr. Murray. I thought it touched on just about everything. A couple of questions just on page 19 in terms of your consultation process. Sorry, page 8 of your report. Okay, so 2/3 of the way down, no perceived need for additional administrative support. Was that the members' comment, or and do you agree with that comment?
Yeah, I certainly remember the members' comment. We had several discussions about it. There's a difference between specialized advice that the department would get from time to time from your senior staff. At the hall, if there's a particular liability issue or legal issue or something with work safe or a budget issue, etc. That will sort of ebb and flow, and your staff have been very supportive in providing that over time. It's more the clerical support part. In talking to the chief and the deputy, there's certainly a lot more focus on use of computerized record keeping, and as such, the desire or the need for that clerical has become less and less, a little more self-sufficient. And so, from the standpoint of could you reduce the chief and or deputy's role significantly by providing clerical? The answer is no. Would clerical be nice to have? Yes. I think it's more important to have the fire chief and the deputy roles established. That's where the priority is. They're comfortable in managing their clerical with the specialist administrative support from time to time that they already receive.
Okay. That's it for me. Thank you.
Okay. Further questions, comments from council? I've got a couple things. There's the mention here of the review of the deputy fire chief position kind of combined with that. And I have to admit, if we went to a part-time paid position on somebody that does 24 hours per week or 25 hours per week, when you've got a deputy chief who's doing 15 or possibly more, there's certainly some expectation of some balancing of that. Any idea of compensation levels for deputy fire chiefs in any way, shape, or form?
So anecdotally, I didn't take the next step to report all the deputies. There's quite a bit of variability. You'll see some that have full-time paid deputies as well. There's not too many, I would say, just top of my head.
Yeah.
There's a few in the middle where there are part-time deputy roles, and then you've got those that are very similar, where it's sort of the honorarium-based approach that you currently have. I'm not necessarily suggesting that the honorarium approach would increase. What I'm saying is I think it would be timely for the incoming chief, given that an incoming chief would likely review roles and responsibilities anyway. good opportunity to do that, establish job descriptions for both, take a look at it and see if it's balanced with what the current compensation is. It may very well be. It may need some tweaking. I'm saying, and that wouldn't be my role. I think that's more fairly placed with the new fire chief.
And that's why you've got the word review there,
Yeah.
rather than amend, adjust, or...
Right.
Yeah.
Leaves it open, but drops the hint that it would be a good idea to do it. And I think a new fire chief will be doing it anyway.
Okay. And then my other question is, a number of places in the report it makes mention of sufficient funding being available in the financial plan for the remainder of 2015. We budgeted something like $18,000 or something for the fire chief side of things, and if we went to even during part of the year, obviously we've already kind of paid half the year. Where in the budget is that money?
I think you'd likely have to go to a sort of prior year surplus approach, would be one-time funding for the year, something akin to that. And thus the comment that for 2016, if you were to approve moving to this position, then I would suggest you task your finance staff and the fire chief with taking a look at that through the budget process to establish how best to do that in 2016 and bring forward a reasonable budget for you overall.
Okay, so it wasn't a case of identifying a specific pot. It was just kind of saying, okay, you got monies in surplus or whichever. So another approach could be some cut on some other expenditure within the district's budget to
Certainly.
offset priorities.
Absolutely, yeah. Try and be non-specific, but understand that there is some surplus that would be available should you choose to go that route.
Okay. Additional? Councillor Hain?
Is there anywhere the comments by the fire department members is recorded, just to see their feedback? Is that in here?
On page,
Everybody's-
starts on page 7, under the consultation. And my commitment was I wasn't going to list individual comments from individual folks. So what I did was structure it as themes that I heard. So if we start on page 7, it's just the bullets that go through to the end of page 8. Gives you a sense of the type of themes of comments that I heard. And followed up with a review of what I was hoping to present to you tonight at the last practice last Thursday night. Managed to get in there.
Yep.
So I appreciate the ability to hold the agenda for an evening to sort of give you the opportunity to see the fire department again.
There was a mention in those comments, desire to be consulted and continue to have a voice in the succession process once decisions are made on how to proceed. Voice in what respect? Was there an expectation of kind of a polling, this is the person that we're considering, what do you guys think? Or was it more just functionally?
Mm-hmm. I think that there's always a worry that as you go to more of an established position that is hired by the municipality, that you lose that connection to the volunteer side. And so I would think it's quite important to maintain that balance where the final decision obviously rests with council, but you want the input and the involvement of the fire department, because the last thing I would suggest you want is that you hire a fire chief that the fire department doesn't want. That's not a recipe for success. Mm-hmm. So building a process that involves both, that's respectful of both roles, I think is a real positive way to go. And I didn't want to specify any particular process there, but I would think that's pretty easily achievable, so that both folks feel respected and the decision by council at the end of the day is supported.
Any additional council members? Councillor Scott?
Just further on that particular item, one of the challenges, of course, is usually in a full volunteer situation, it's people move up through the ranks type of idea, and then in some cases with a lot of the volunteers, including ours for many years in the past, the members voted on who was chief. Now when you get into the situation of bringing somebody in, there's a fairly good chance it could be somebody from the outside, so you have that whole unknown element as well. So I don't know if you have any words of advice on dealing with that particular situation, because it is, as you indicated, a delicate situation.
It isn't, and I've seen it in the professional ranks as well as the volunteer, where folks move up as well, and there's succession planning that goes on.
Yeah.
That's why I referenced this is an opportunity to establish a little bit more of a succession plan moving forward. It's tough to do, particularly in a smaller organization. You don't necessarily have the flexibility.
Yeah.
You can still work on the same principles though, and what that does is it builds from within, and if you can do that, establish a system where folks do move along that are interested. If they happen to move on to another community and become a fire chief, that's great for them, and you've helped them in their career. If they happen to be the one that moves up here and provide that service to this community, that's great too. So I think in this case, if you, I think there is a process there where, again, it's respectful of the department, where you perhaps have you have a posting process, you establish a job description, you establish a rate, you get your basics done, and then you establish a process. I think it would be positive to give the members in the department an opportunity to see if any are qualified and meet the competencies that you establish in a job description. If they do, why wouldn't you take a look at them? So the question is whether you want to go just one broad posting process that's public across the board to anybody, or do you want a two-step process, which is perfectly fine as well if you choose to do that. You can certainly do a two-step where you establish the process, job description, competencies, range, so everything's up front. Post it internally, see if there's any candidates that meet much
internally.
If there is, go through your process with them. If that candidate doesn't happen to be the preferred candidate or pass those tests, what it does is it sets you up much better for your public process rather than jumping to that first. So you can perhaps do that. Then the folks in the department will have had an opportunity. It's fair to everybody. Step through that. You can do that relatively quickly. And I'm sure the department would, if you wanted to move on this and start that process, you're likely not going to finish a couple of steps prior to when the chief technically is retiring, but I'm sure the department, and they've said to me, they're providing coverage until you resolve the issue, but it's just, it needs to be resolved fairly soon.
Yeah, functionally, we just have to appoint somebody else as chief just to keep within our bylaws. Yeah. Okay. Councillor Savage?
Through you, I wonder whether Chief Whips has any comment?
I would say that working with Paul was a great experience, good experience, because he came in with an open mind, and he talked to the cross section I provided at 10 members, and we'd hoped to cover 11th one, but it was just coming too late in the evening to get to that 11th, and he had a long drive back, but he covered the 10, and I think the only comment I would make I know members of the department would have expressed their opinion, which is probably their view on this topic of the topic of clerical support, and only that to me, for my part, I think we do need a little, and we do certainly get help from the office. I think what I'm referring to is mostly cleaning up files and the stuff that I've said to Paul, I know in my discussions, that just things that I haven't done in a business-like fashion, I'll say, but they're all there. And then, depending on council's wishes, clerical staff inputting past responses, call-outs, whatever you want to build for a record that we have not done. We're entering all current stuff. This was one of the last things we approached in that program. And if you wanted a history developed, then clerical staff, again, might help there. But could be on a piecemeal basis or as needed or budgeted for and done in a shot. But I think that would be just, I might have another note here, but I did have concerns with regard to the deputy chief position in that, John and I have both worked at basically those little better than volunteer stipends and leaving John with the workload, or it's a piece of the picture you need to consider. That's all. But, and again, can't stress enough the importance of keeping the department in the loop of proceedings. But,
Thank you.
Councillor Scott?
Just through to Tom, well, you touched on the subject. Just in terms of the clerical support, Tom, because I always look at it, and I know myself, files get out of control. I don't have clerical support per se in my job either. Would it be useful in the future, do you think, and obviously it would be more a new chief's role, but I'd like to hear from you, like, say 2 hours every couple of weeks, if you had some clerical support that could go up and deal with a bunch of the files and sort things and stuff like that, would you see use for?
Well, certainly, like I said, the outset would need to be a few hours organizing files. They should be organized. Mine are alphabetical to whatever I happen to call it.
Right.
And, I'm sure that's not very businesslike. And then, filing typically does stack up a bit. There's been other suggestions, like, why do we have files at all? Why can't we scan and keep these things another way, the correspondence and the other things? But I didn't go there. And so the letters, that aspect, I've never shied from writing letters. I don't mind doing that, but sometimes it would be nice to get that one done. Just
It's straightforward.
Here's the notes, go for it. But it wouldn't be much.
Yeah.
Probably, realistically, a couple hours.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, probably from what I was hearing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Anything further? Just last thing to note, the concept of part-time paid fire chief with the opportunity to review the deputy chief position was supported. Was that something outwardly supported, like what do you guys think, or was it more of just does anybody have an objection to type comment?
I think I'll let Paul respond. Yeah.
No, I think it's outwardly supported. We were certainly conversational.
Okay.
I didn't have a set of scripted questions. I know there's certain themes, areas I wanted to tease out a little bit and talk to everybody about.
Yeah.
Certainly, the theme was getting this organized so that it's at minimum part-time. Some structure to it. You can see from some of the brief benchmarking we did. This is very. You've got the same question that communities of your size have wrestled with.
Yeah.
A lot of them already. You can see there's one or two in there that I'm willing to bet are in exactly the same boat, where they've had a chief that has contributed for a number of years, and they're reaching the same point where they're likely going to have to do the same thing. I think the part-time piece represents some flexibility. It's a way to perhaps get the cost in, as best you can without jumping right to full-time, which is a very significant cost. Mm-hmm. Step it in there, see what the new chief comes up with. You can look at the clerical administration question at the same time, and move ahead, and then adjust again in a year or two if necessary.
Councillor Scott?
Yeah, just one last thing, and I think you would probably concur with this 100%, is that due to the ever-changing regulatory nature of so many different things, probably the position of volunteer fire chief is fast becoming something that's not going to be around any much longer. It's going to be something that disappears. Would that be a fair comment?
Yeah, I think you see there's a couple of departments that we were quite surprised at looking at the $1,000 stipend.
Yeah.
Within the region. Wow, how are they doing that? And again, it's probably a chief that's been there for a long time, and they're just kind of getting through it at the moment. But I agree with you, that's with the advent of the standards, the playbook being applied across the board. There's federal legislation that's increasing criminal liability that has folks very worried and applies across the board. If you don't do these things, so that naturally will move away from volunteerism. There was certainly a theme expressed where the volunteerism aspect of the department is a really highly valued component. Mm-hmm. It's something that you don't want to lose, so it's the balancing of that with compensating a chief and a deputy and sort of the honorarium system for the training officer and the other officers, and still keep that value in there. And that's going to be a tough balance over time, but that's certainly a strong value I saw, and one that they want to maintain.
Okay, and this is a final report, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Any further from council? Councillor Coulson?
Just a question to, I guess, ourselves. So next steps with this. Is this something that we go to a committee of the whole meeting with, have the fire department involved, and talk about the next steps a bit more with them and get a path forward?
Well, I mean, we've got definitely some administrative steps to go through as well that are separate, such as the funding of it, that discussion. We've also got the general process. I mean, if you just go into a meeting with the fire department, they're going to say, well, what are we going to do? So we've got to kind of have a plan ahead of time to present to them, the process, in my opinion. So that could come from a staff report, for example.
Right. Okay.
That sort of an aspect. So how about if we start with a motion to receive this report?
So moved.
Councillor Scott, Councillor Savage, discussion on the motion to receive. Hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Is there anything outwardly that we want to direct individuals to do?
Well, I'm just going to have a time of discussion before we make a
Go
motion,
for it.
but I think what we need to look at is, as per the mayor's suggestion, is perhaps a staff report outlining a potential process to go through, and perhaps get some information about what would go in a particular job posting, and I think explore the, as Mr. Murray has suggested, possibly a two-part process of having, if there's any internal interest, and then of course we'd have to go through reviewing those qualifications. We'd have to set up some structure around that, and then if that doesn't pan out, then we would go out to the broader market and put the job posting out in that instance. But I think we need a staff report sort of outlining all those things, and I don't know how to put that probably in a total motion. I was trying to sort of elaborate on all the pieces of it, and then try to put it succinctly is a little more challenging. I can try. Does anybody have anything else they want to add before we move forward with the motion? Okay.
Give it a try.
Sorry, yeah, just
Mr. Coulson.
trying to capture that this is done in consultation with the department as much as we can. I think what you're...
But this is just a staff report, so this isn't going
Yeah,
to the
well,
department or anything yet.
Yeah,
So
there's administrative function.
this is the administrative function and
Correct.
bringing more information back to council, and then we can take the next steps after that.
And then in consultation with the department
So
prior to final approval.
I would move staff request, or that council request a report from staff outlining the processes for job descriptions and the processes and job descriptions for a new fire chief,
Part-time.
part-time. That's per the recommendation in Mr. Murray's report.
Friendly amendment before we,
Yeah.
including identification of financial resources.
Okay, including identification of financial resources. I have no problem with that.
Okay. Do you have a second? Second by Councillor Savage. Discussion on the motion. Is that adequate, Trudy? You got?
Yeah, I'm good.
We good? Okay. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Anything additional on the Lanceville Fire Service review? Correspondence. 5 individual pieces of correspondence. We can take them separately or together. Okay. Now we need a motion.
I move we receive the correspondence.
All 5 items?
Sure.
Moved by Councillor Scott, seconded by Councillor Coulson. Discussion. Okay, hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Mayor and Council, verbal updates. Councillor Hain.
Let's go back to last week.
Nothing to report.
Nothing to report. Councillor Scott.
Nothing to report.
For myself, first of all, I did attend the Battle of the Atlantic service at Blancheville Cenotaph. Interesting people there. MLA was there, representative of the MP was there, representatives from Parksville Qualicum were there, as well as a number of veterans, including, I believe there's 4 or 5 individuals who were basically part of the Battle of the Atlantic. So it was a good use. It is an item that kind of rotates amongst 5 communities, and it was Lanceville's turn. And then it ended with a ceremonial kind of launching of a wreath with poppies down at the beach, recognizing the naval influence of the Battle of the Atlantic. Second thing was the ESS group had a display out in front of the district office on Friday afternoon, looking to get some additional volunteers. A number of people stopped off and got additional information. A couple of the ESS people were kind of identifying people that they knew that were going by and encouraged them to join up, so there could be some new members of the ESS group, which is good. The last thing on the RDN agenda, the Committee of the Whole tomorrow night, is an item referring to automatic aid. They're looking at having agreements between some fire departments, not for mutual, but in addition to mutual aid, in the case of structure fires, automatically calling out additional resources ahead of time to make it as part of the process, rather than waiting for the individual departments to get on scene and then consider whether or not to call in mutual aid. So interesting to hear that discussion, the reasoning behind it. It's right now, I believe it's North Cedar and Cranberry, I think are the ones in it, and RDN separately as an item. So that, like I said, something on the agenda. It's a very short RDN report tomorrow, but I'm sure there'll be more discussion of it. That's it. Councillor Coulson?
Quick little one. Well, in the plumbing section of Home Depot this weekend, I learned that the school board is contemplating removing bus service for what they call courtesy riders in the district. And so that means for kids from kindergarten to grade 3, if you're less than 4 kilometers away from the school, you won't have bus service. And for kids above grade 3, it's 4.8 kilometers. So it's interesting because I've heard very little press about it, and I believe the vote may have been happening tonight on it. But I found that interesting. My mom went through this fight about 35 years ago when they were contemplating removing bus service to CU School. Yeah.
So the relevance of in the plumbing department of Home Depot?
No, I just found
Is there a sign there or what?
No, I was just yakking about Lanceville events, and this happened to come up. So
Okay. Is anybody aware what day the school district actually does meet? Is it Monday night?
it seemed to vary, but I think there was a meeting Wednesday formally. Like tonight's I couldn't find other than through a Twitter post.
And I think it was a special business meeting. It wasn't a regular.
Yeah, it had to do with budget. Right?
Yeah, it wasn't a regular trustee meeting.
I just wonder if it might be important for us to kind of send some sort of correspondence to the school district expressing concern, recognizing, for example, the highway cutting our community in half. Because I did read on your website there the reference to it, and recognizing that in the 4-kilometer limit, you've got way up the other side of the highway, and that's kindergarten to whatever age it was.
Well, and I don't know if the same rule applies, but way back when my mom was challenging this, it was, I'll use the term, as the crow flies. It wasn't per road distance, and so, you know, from CU School, that puts you way down at the end.
Basically, you draw a circle.
So pretty well everyone will be without a bus service, essentially.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Councillor Scott?
Yeah, just on that, I know when my kids were going to primary school, there was talk of removing the bus service from, and we live up on the high side of the highway, and down to Seaview. And they were looking at removing it, and there was a bunch of people that had gotten involved. And I don't know how far along it was in the process, but people definitely made it known. And the reason it did stay, and it was acknowledged that it did stay, was because of the highway. It was a big safety issue.
Okay.
Especially because the highway's so wide there, too.
Yeah,
You're talking
six lanes.
6 lanes, yeah.
Crossing.
Yeah.
Okay. So is there anything we want to do about it?
Yeah, could we make a motion opposing the cancellation of the bus service in Lanceville?
Stop right over.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was
That we move that council direct staff to write a letter to the school board and the trustees.
How about if council
Okay.
Council sends a letter. Staff prepares, but council comes as opposed to, no offense, as opposed to signed by a staff member.
Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead again.
So that council send a letter to the school district number 68, opposing the cancellation of bus service in Lanceville.
School bus service.
Or should be expressing concern.
Specifically expressing concern related to the highway.
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
the safety issues.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Coulson, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed, motion carried. Anything else, Councillor Coulson?
Nope, that was all.
Councillor Savage.
Thank you. Yeah, on Saturday I attended a memorial at the Cenotaph. Mayor Hain was unable to attend. It was prepared by a group called the Drop Zone Vancouver Island. And it's a memorial to celebrate a training exercise in 1968 whereby 7 parachuters unfortunately drowned in Ottawa River. And so this event was organized for this last weekend. They're anticipating that this will become an annual event. So, thank you.
Is this an event where there's numerous events across Canada? It's just the Ottawa River.
Good question. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, this group are definitely called the Drop Zone Vancouver Island.
Okay.
And there were people there. I met people from Port Hardy, Qualicum, Souk, Esquimalt. So it's definitely the group who are organising this event were definitely Vancouver Island. Whether that's connected to a broader countrywide group, I'm not sure.
Okay, on to item 6B, financial services. There's a report detailing the DCCs received and the activity for 2014. 5,837 relating to one property with the total DCCs, with total DCCs collected to date, including interest accrued, 348,436. Motion to receive?
Move receipt.
Councillor Scott, seconded by Councillor Savage. Thank you. Discussion? Councillor Savage?
Through yourself to staff. So this relates to this one property.
Yes.
Do we not collect DCCs from upgrading their existing properties on a per square meter basis? Because there's been quite a few, significant renovations in the community.
Yeah, it's only if renovations do not qualify. It's only if there was a bare land and that they were actually building a new house where the DCCs would be applied.
So our DCCs don't apply to increasing...
Not typically, no.
Okay. Thank you.
Just a question to staff. If we added secondary suites and people were adding as a result of creation of a secondary suite, is there instances where that may apply?
There is, if council so chooses to go down that path, yes.
Okay.
And there are communities that do have DCC bylaws as it relates to secondary suites.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. First quarter financial report for 2015, detailing the financial results, again the DCC balances themselves, as well as expenditures greater than $5,000. Also some additional information on property taxes and capital purchases and deferred revenue.
Move receipt.
Move receipt by Councillor Scott, seconded by Councillor Savage. Thank you. Discussion. Councillor Scott.
A question through to staff. When it says the cash position of the district is $6.8 million, is that actual cash liquid monies?
I don't think that, I think it's a combination of reserves and such. I could have that clarified for you.
Right, but it is, whether it be reserves or
yes.
it is
That
all
is-
in
that's
cash.
correct.
Okay, I thought we were only sitting about $4 million.
Yeah, no.
We average around 7.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion?
Actually,
Councillor
this may not be a
Coulson?
fair one tonight, but what's the approximate swing of that through the year in terms of like our operating budget and how that impacts, I use the term float, but quite correct.
Yeah, probably best to have our financial person
I
answer
suspect
that
it was-
question for you.
Go down until June
Tax
30th and then
Way up.
way up.
It's about 7.
So it tops out at 7, goes
Yeah.
down to a little below this perhaps. Yeah.
Probably 6.8 now, the rate on 7 to be at 1.9 million.
But the average throughout the
Oh, the
year.
average, yes, yeah, the average.
Okay.
But you're just swinging your taxes collected plus some operating buffer we have in there.
I did have one question about one of the payments. Release of holdback on a 2013 asphalt replacement project. Was there challenges with that project that resulted in that holdback, or was it a stipulated one-year holdback?
It's the stipulated timeframe, there wasn't any issues.
Okay. Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Next item, Parks and Rec Commission, April 23rd, 2015 meeting minutes for information.
You receive?
Councillor Hames, seconded by Councillor Coulson. Discussion? Okay. Hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Gets us on to bylaws. So we've got the adoption of the financial plan bylaw number 116, 2015.
I move council adopts District of Lanceville Financial Plan Bylaw number 116, 2015.
Seconded? Seconded by Councillor Savage. Thank you. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Adoption of the tax rates bylaw 117, 2015.
I move the council adopts District of Lanceville Tax Rates Bylaw number 117, 2015.
Moved by Councillor Scott, seconded by, residents would love it if it's not seconded. Thank you, Councillor Savage. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, next item, new business motions, notice of motions, information with regards to the acting mayor schedule there. There's a report from staff detailing it. Just question to staff, there's the mention at the bottom with regards to memorandum provided for council's information advising that Councillor Savage would serve as acting mayor if and when required. Is that just an availability aspect? And the reason why I ask is the motion from council previously made reference to if the mayor and acting mayor are either absent or unable to act, the councillor appointed as acting mayor for the preceding period would be acting mayor. So I was just trying to equate those two statements.
Oh, then it should be Councillor Hain.
Okay.
Is that what you're... It doesn't, it's your choice.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well, and that's
simply put,
in the procedure bylaw, if it, or the community charter in that, it does make reference to council can vote on
yes.
the replacement of whoever. So that just raises the question for me, recognizing Councillor Hain did serve for 3 months, whether what we could do right now is just appoint Councillor Savage as the acting mayor at this time, and then that effectively allows us to kind of move forward. You guys want to do that?
You asking us first?
I'm asking you guys. Okay, so Councillor Coulson just made the motion to appoint Councillor Savage as the acting mayor for now, until
For 3 months?
for 3 months? Okay.
3 months?
Yes, that's
Okay.
the invitation.
Okay. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Hain, thank you. Discussion? Councillor Savage, you okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, hearing no further discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Which gets us to the public participation.
Okay.
That was
comment
nice,
is,
nice elbow there, Mr. Blitt. Name and address.
Oh, Doug Parker, Starwood Drive, Lanceville. Yeah, just a reminder, yes, and Dave's daughter, Amy, and my son, Andrew, were both going to be potential what was called a kindergarten bus at the time. It was going to be canceled. It was just after, not long after the parkway had gone through, because they were arguing that now the kids could walk straight down Ware Road. Never mind that basically there's no shoulder and to walk on a Ware Road unless we call wading through deep ditches. So it is, and what happened at the time was a group of parents got out and actually spent 2 or 3 hours in the morning with placards on the highway pressing the light, pulling up traffic. So, there is a little bit of a history of militantism in Lanceville. It's not just O'Brien. And, but there is a history, and it seems to be, John, it's one of these things that seems to show up every 10 years.
Okay.
And,
So Lanceville protesting involves pressing the walk sign.
yes, and then with placards. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, my mom actually went, Phil Wilson, I think was the superintendent at the time. She went down to his office and got into it with him, and then invited him over for tea, a bunch of them, and we're going to go for a walk. I understand that invitation has been extended again to this group, so we'll see what comes of it.
Additional public participation. Mr. Blood.
Can I ask a question of a specific councillor, or does it have to be to you?
You can ask a specific councillor. It's up to them whether or not they answer.
Councillor Coulson, I noticed that you didn't approve the District of Lanceville Financial Plan bylaw and the District of the Lanceville Tax Rate bylaw, but you chose not to discuss it. Would you discuss it now and explain why?
Oh, sure, yeah. I've spoken, I think, quite a bit to some of my concerns with our financial plan in place and the process that we've used and so on. And so right now I can't approve what's in front of me because I think we can do better. And I know we're going to review it in September and try to get on the process earlier. I still can't support it. If there's a cost savings in my own home that's available now, I don't wait a year to identify it or wait till next tax season to identify it. I get on it right away. So that's basically my position on that. Yeah. And I didn't speak to it at the last meeting, but I thought I'd spoken to the issues enough. So yeah.
Additional participation. Hearing none. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to go back in camera.
No, that's a separate meeting. So we need to adjourn this motion and then we continue the meeting that we started at 6. They're two separate meetings. So motion to adjourn this meeting?
Move to adjourn.
Councillor Scott, seconded by Councillor Hain. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. See that? 55 minutes.
We'll make asphalt the boat tonight.
Good. That means I won't have to go there later in the week. So the reason there isn't is because his mom fought about the buses years ago.
Well, at the time, on Superior Road, it went, there was a big hill coming off Superior Road to the highway, and then it rolled back up on the other side.
I remember that.
And there was no lights.
Well, I remember the no lights.
Yeah.
We were here when there was no lights.
Because
There was a stop sign.
the chick farm used to be Strawberry Farm, and they used to actually have, when the original highway was there, they used to have a strawberry stand right on the highway, and the highway was right level with the
The
field.
highway was lower.
Oh yeah, it was like 10 feet, well, probably 10, 12 feet lower.
Yeah, it was quite the bus used to slide off of it and head across the highway.
Yeah, hey, it was a real shorty. Yeah.
You got hold of it. Yeah.